Hi, this is Andy from GPS Training. In this next video I'm going to show you how you can transfer out of your GPS device any tracks that you may have saved in there when you've been out for a walk or cycle ride, so you can keep them safe in BaseCamp software. Keeps the memory of your GPS tidy. It means you can then view those tracks within BaseCamp software and maybe use again at a later date for a walk or cycle ride that you do in the future from one that you've actually saved. I've already got BaseCamp software open. It's just minimized at the bottom of my screen. So along the taskbar along the bottom of my screen, I'm just going to double click on the BaseCamp little compass logo just to reopen up the software. I've already connected my GPS device with the USB cable that it came with, and I can see, if I look in this top left hand window underneath the library where I've got routes saved in the actual software, if I scroll down to devices, I can see under devices at the top Oregon 700, which is the GPS device I'm using, and internal storage folder. If I highlight that internal storage folder and then look in the bottom left hand window, everything that's within my internal storage is highlighted in that window. This includes some preloaded waypoints from Garmin. You do get some preloaded free demo bird's eye mapping often from Garmin, the little ready orange bird's eye symbol. What I'm interested in, going past all the waypoints that I've got saved and any routes, which are these three green box symbols, I can see tracks that are saved in my GPS with the little footprint symbol. Normally a track you save in your GPS device, if you don't rename it when you save it, it's saved as the date and time that you actually save it at. So I'm going to look at the very first one here, dated the 1st of the 9th at 11 minutes past 3. If you double click on the track, it'll open up a properties box that shows you information about the track, how many points that were recorded on the ground. So every time you walk with the GPS or cycle, your GPS will automatically record what we call a breadcrumb trail. If you're using the record facility within your GPS, shows me the distance I travelled, time, moving speed, etc., as well as elevation, and all of the points that were recorded. There's extra information in this box about these points. I can actually look at the graph symbol at the top, the graph tab. If I bring up the graph tab, I can see an elevation profile of the track that I actually walked. I'm going to close the properties box down now. And now what you'll see on the screen, because I double clicked on the track to open up that properties box, I've actually got the track now displayed on the screen as this grey line with the red arrows showing the direction of travel. I'm just going to zoom out on the track so we can see where it is. It's the one I done a couple of weeks ago. I had a little 4-year-old with us, so we didn't walk very far. My little girl's starting to walk a little bit more now, so but we managed to do a few miles with her, and it's to an area called Dove Crag in Northumberland. So if you decided you wanted to save that track and take it out of your GPS device, what we can do is take it out of the GPS device, copy it into a folder within the BaseCamp software, and then you could use that track at a later date to walk again. If I zoom right in on the track, because it's an exact recording of where you walked, I can see if I zoom in, so it's a little bit blurry there, but I can actually see there's red arrows going one way and red arrows going another way, so it's basically me going out one way and coming back down the same way on the track. So with that track now, with that highlighted, I can copy that and send it to a folder within the BaseCamp software. What I'd normally done, if you had pre-created a route to actually walk and then done a track in your GPS, you would transfer that track into the same folder that you've already got the route in. For this one, I didn't already have a route saved, so I'm just going to move up to the folders in my collection on the software, where in earlier exercises we showed you how to create routes to actually follow. Now I've already got a folder called walking in here, so what I'm going to do is in this folder called walking, I'm going to highlight that folder and use the file new list folder to create a new subfolder within the walking called Northumberland, so I've got somewhere to actually save this track to, because I didn't yet have a folder called Northumberland, I had one called Lake District. And exactly the same as our exercises for creating a route yourself, you create an electronic list file, something to then save this track to that you're going to take out of your GPS device. If you've already got a list file created for the actual route that you planned when you did the walk, you could, like I say, save the track into that list file, but I'm going to create a new one here. So with Northumberland highlighted, I'm going to use this file new list and make a new list file. I'm just highlighting where it's got the new list name, hitting the backspace to delete the name, and I'm going to call it Dove Crag, which is where I was heading to on this walk. Dove Crag. So I'm now on the previous exercises where we show you how to create a route. We're at the same stage where you would normally create the route yourself now. But what I'm actually going to do with that list file created, I'm going to go back down to the internal storage of my GPS. I'm going to find that track again, the one that was dated 1st of the 9th, and simply right click on that track and use the option send to. So if I say send to, I then get the option of where do you want to send it to, and from my collection within the library on BaseCamp, I'm going to highlight this new list file that I created called Dove Crag and simply left click on the wording OK. Now what will happen is that track will be copied from the GPS. If I now move up to the folders above that are actually on the software now, and I've got the folder that I just created called Northumberland and the list file called Dove Crag, I can now see I've got that track saved within the software. As per when we create routes in previous exercises, I can rename this track now. If I was to send this back to my GPS, I don't want it to be the date, I want it to actually be named Dove Crag, so I can find it in the GPS when I use the where to tracks or the find button and tracks. So if I simply right click on this track and select the option rename, I can then rename the track Dove Crag. And the final thing I'm going to look at on this track is we can actually play back the track in real time to look at what we actually did when we walked this actual track. What I'm going to do first, which is quite interesting, on the map page we can actually make this map page 3D. If you've got a 3D graphics card on your computer, I can go to the View tab at the top, View and Map Views, and change the map to a 3D map. I just think it looks a little bit more interesting when you're looking at a track that you've maybe walked in a hilly area. And then what I can do is if I right click on this track name again, I've got the option here of playback. If I select playback, I now get a little play bar appear along the top left of the computer screen. It'll actually play it in real time, so if I zoom in now I can see the little red arrow at the start of my track where I was stationary for a little bit before we started. Now I don't really want to play this in real time, I want to speeden it up a little bit, so there's a little drop down box that's got ×5 there, so it's actually at 5 times the speed. I can make that 20 times the speed, and then you can see the little red arrow at the bottom, that's me actually stationary for a little bit next to the roadside, and then you see that start moving as I start this walk. So you can watch yourself play back in real time, probably more interesting when you're looking at a much longer track that you've walked over many hills. Again, I can speed it up again in that drop down box to ×100 speed, and again that's a little bit faster, so you can play back the track that you actually walked. You can simply stop that at the top. At this bar that's appeared along the top of the screen, simply hit the stop, and that's now stopped the playback. So that's just a way of taking a track out of your GPS and saving it in the software. The one thing it hasn't done, it hasn't actually deleted it from the GPS device. So if I go back to internal storage and scroll down, I can still see that track dated the 1st of September. All I've done is send a copy of it to the software. So now if you're happy that you've transferred it out of your GPS, I can simply highlight that and press the delete key on my keyboard, or I can right click and select delete, and that will delete that track from the GPS device. If you want to delete more than one track in one go, if you've transferred quite a few out of the GPS, you can use the arrow up on your keyboard, so I can highlight a few tracks together, either hit delete or right click and select delete, and it'll delete those tracks out of your GPS. If you realise you've made a mistake and didn't mean to delete things out of the GPS, you can always use the edit at the top, the edit and undo, and that puts them back in the GPS. So anything you want to transfer out the GPS, it doesn't have to be a track. It could have been a route that you've sent to the GPS that you now haven't got in the software, you've accidentally deleted out of the software. It could be waypoints that you've saved, like the flag symbols I've got on the screen here. You can simply right click on anything that's on the internal storage of your GPS, select send to, and as long as you've created a folder and a list file to send it to, you can send a copy out of the GPS into the software. So I hope you found this video useful, and thanks for watching.